Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Smith of the In the Black VTF here at T3 Live with this week's market wrap up. And certainly going to get interesting here. We got earnings season coming up here, and some of the things that were going on this week that some people say, oh, it's just random action, and nothing could be further from the truth. I want to be very clear about something. There's no such thing as random price action. And to simply prove that, have you or anyone you've ever known entered an order at random? Nobody does that. So everything can be explained, and I'm going to go through just a few things here of what was going on. You might recall yesterday, SPY starts to drop in and looking ugly, taking out support. Everybody's like, oh no, it's the end of the world. And it's certainly, we're going to respect that when things are moving lower. But one thing that was important to remember was that we were still inside weak. And so anytime you have a bar that's still forming inside, now granted, we could take a shot at making a lower low, but as long as it's inside, anytime we start to stabilize, that's how what you'd consider consolidation. It's not trending. It couldn't take out the highs, couldn't take out the lows. It's consolidating. And so you can expect back and forth action. And so if you're only looking at daily and intraday charts, you want to start off with the monthly and go down in the weekly and break it down, because that's when you can expect things to reverse, when they're still inside on longer term time frames. So we stayed inside weak. Now, to be fair, I talk about time frame continuity, and that's the direction of the price from the opening of the monthly, the weekly, the daily, and the 60. And we did battle full time frame continuity to the downside, because we opened the month here, and we've been battling that 204.35, a mighty battle here, and we've been below it, and so we've had full time frame continuity to the downside. But another thing that you'll find is you do yourself an extreme disservice if you only look at the S&P and you don't look through the Qs, the Russell, the diamonds, and then the sectors. Because yesterday, although things started to look a little nasty, if you get to the 60, when we were coming down into here and we took out all these lows into here, but if you were looking at the internals and looking at everything that was going on, a lot of that was financials, FAS falling apart, XLF. And so things looked a little bloody down there. But if you started to poke around a little bit, you would see that even during that XLV was still an inside day yesterday here. And there was almost no way it was going to take that out. So that was staying inside day. The IBB, albeit dropping, was nowhere near being red on the week and stays green on the week. You had SMH Semiconductors handily inside day yesterday, couldn't take out the previous day's lows. You had USO and crude oil stuff inside day there, that wasn't breaking. And then if you looked at the Dow, you had mini mines hanging out near the highs. You had UTEX here hanging out near the highs. You had McDonald's inside day and up on the highs. So there wasn't a lot of internals showing us things were going to really fall apart. If you had XME, was still an inside day, that didn't break. So when you want to look through all that kind of stuff, you had XOP as well. Yesterday was green. And so everything matters, and everything can be explained in these terms. It's like, yes, we're going to pay attention to the full time frame continuity, because that's the futures activity. If they're going to drive them down, we want to be aware of that. However, we're going to look for all this confirmation as things go along. So when we come in today and people are like, oh, we're going to stay short, it looks like the end of the world and they're all going to take them down. Well, the problem was you come in and you got USO and your crude oil popping up, and that's going to get your XLE and all that's in XOP. And if you look at XLE, here's one of the ways that we want to compare relative strength within subsectors. And so if you look at XLE as an inside week, and it got taken to the downside, and it didn't fall apart, but it broke this inside bar to the downside. So conversely, at the same time, XOP did not and stayed inside. So when things start to stabilize, or oil starts to going, XOP is going to be our choice, because when there was oil weakness, it was too strong to break with the XLE, or go when it turns around. This is the first one we'd go towards, and you had little stuff like that, and WLL had a nice inside week and up, stuff like that. So when we came in today, the crude oil pops that inside day and up, that gets all the oils going. SMH gaps up a little bit, and so in the grander scheme of things, we're still going to be inside weak, right? Outside of taking this out or that out. And so once we popped up, that we're still considered consolidating. So are we going to go off to the races just because we had all those things stabilized? Maybe, maybe not. But right out the chute, there was evidence that this opening would stall. So when we opened here this morning, it was like, oh, we're just going to go straight to the moon. I'm like, you sure about that? You better look around. XRT. puke right out there, right out the chute. Puke. IBB opens on the high. Puke, and there's a really nice inside 30 bar here. Down inside 30. See you later. Thanks for playing. And if you looked at that XRT. And you're like, oh, everything's going to the moon. I'm like, oh, really? Gap down stores, LB. You had Dackers, inside day and down puke. You had Nordstrom still puking, Macy's, all that kind of trouble, and Bloodbath and beyond still puking. So when you looked at that, you could say, okay, the oil goes up and hangs. That's good. And we knew XME, at least to a little bit, was inside day and up. So go to the commodities, and you had Nugget, albeit gold staying lackluster. The NUGT Nugget takes this inside week we've been watching to see if this triangle is going to expand and if you can get a measured move out of this. Up, sideways, chop them, spit them out, and now finally go inside and start to make a move. So we're still going to keep a good eye on that. So it was more a case of case-by-case basis, if you will, again. And if you take a look at the 5-minute SPY, and you'll see this very clearly today, that when I talk about things trading in broadening formations, the price discovery works in a series of broadening formations. So if you look at the 5-minute here, it was beautiful. And the great thing about it is it happens on a Friday. We're an inside week and nowhere near taking that out, so we can expect this type of action. And if you look at this, we come down, we open up, then we fall into here. Lower low, higher high, lower low. Couldn't make the higher high, makes the lower low, rallies back up through here. And at this point, you're at the 205er. All right, right around the 205, you get yourself an inside 5-minute bar. Guess where we're going? Right back down. And the great thing is you can play options on this. It's on a Friday, a little less expensive. As we get back to the bottom, the inside 5 calls the lows off the strike. You've also heard me talk about, if you've been with me for a while, about what a reversal strategy is, and that's an inside bar countered by hammer or shooting star. And so we saw this triangle play out. Spooked them here. Oh, we're all going to zero. I'm like, yeah, you got a long way to go to not be an inside week. So we come off the bottom of the triangle, inside bar countered with hammer, which happens to be right around the strike with 15 minutes to go. Boom, right back up. And so one of the reasons this will work is that this is an equilibrium. So if you're going to sell this thing, you better sell it down, because if you don't, that's just going to exhaust. And when it comes back up, guess where the stops go? Right here and right here and right here. Boom, 1, 2, 3, thanks for playing. So going forward, we got an inside week in the SPY, period. All right, so that's got to change. And we haven't made a lower low in, 6 weeks? And so even taking that out wouldn't be the end of the world, because even if you really got killed, you'd be in the middle of this range. Now, granted, it might seem pretty painful if you're long, and we're going to be aware of that, but we've got earnings coming out, so we would continually want to watch these all the sectors and how they line up. You'll also notice that the inside month breaks that we've had, August down, September inside, October up, bam. And then what happened? Doji month. All right, and so what happened? January peak, February inside, March straight up, inside month and up. Guess what we're doing? Doge. So not out of the question here, but we do have earnings coming up. So looking at some of those weeks for next week with the SPY, we're going to start off and look at, in the Dow, you've got Boeing is an inside week. We'll see how it gets out of that. You got Slumber J to watch with the OIH. You can see how tight this has been in here. This has got to give eventually, so we'll see how that goes. You've got Amazon as an inside week and an inside day. All right, so, oh, the Nasdaq's going to puke. It's like doing nothing. It's stuck in here. How does that get out of there? How does that resolve? You've also got Google as an inside week and an inside month here. So still consolidating as the Goog, and that weekly is going to tell a few tales. And as I was saying before, that if you don't look at the monthlies and the weeklies, you're doing yourself a big disservice, because a lot of people I saw this week were like, why is Facebook puking? I'm like, well, let's take a look. If you take a look at the weekly chart, there's a pattern known as a kicking pattern, and this is a variation of it. Technically, in the books, they'll tell you it has to gap all the way down, but what you're seeing here is, look, a straight up week. It opens almost on the lows and closes almost on the highs. You come in the next week and you gap and take almost all of that down and start taking that out. That's a problem. That's a problem. It's real tough for guys to stay short in here. So if you blew out a lot of shorts and you've got longs that are just sitting there saying, well, I can just trail the stop, oh, you're going to take them all out but good, and they're going to spend most of the week trying to get out, and that's exactly what happened there. Facebook is also, once again, inside month. It's not trending. It's consolidating, which means it could drop back in anytime until it breaks out of that back and forth, back and forth. And knowing that things are inside in a longer term time frame certainly going to help you. So if we go down to the dailies to start off next week, I think we can leave that on there. Where's QQQ? Inside day for you with your Amazon inside day and Google inside week. That should start it off interesting because you also got Apple starting off as an inside day, so we'll see how that goes. You got VXX here to see if this is just going to continue. Is this just another pop-up within this, or are we finally going to get some more volatility and pop it back up into there? Today, if you look at UVXY here, also an inside day, but if you look at the 30 here, there was an inside 30 that popped to the upside here real nice, and that was also with a 5-minute inside 5 combination here up into there. And so normally I do not trade this down. I'm a career VXX short, but people ask me about when can we go long VXY or VXX. What would cause you to want to be long that? And there's 2 conditions. And one condition is when we have full time frame continuity to the downside in the S&P and the broader averages, and that means it's trading below the opening of the month, the week, the day, and the 60. That's when options volatility is likely to expand. So that we had here, right? For it was a brief time, but that's when it was, and you can see when it came out of that, it's going to fall apart. The other is when the VIX futures options are in backwardation. That means they are skirred, and there's a lot of opportunity to to trade it long, but those are the only 2 conditions. So for next week, you got those going inside day. I want to see how gold acts. Gold here didn't do much. I think we had a bad tick and stuff in here, but gold just kind of sitting there with the miners going on the run. So we're going to see if the miners are leading gold to take it up. You'll take a look at silver here as well as it relates to that XME, because XME is going inside week now. So we got to break out of this range, this one, and certainly a gold rally would help. And we got letter X, I believe, is an inside week, and we'll take a look at all that stuff over the weekend. And I post my weekend video on Twitter. I'm at Robin the Black. I post it on my YouTube, Smiths in the Black, all one word. So please check that out. I go through maybe 45 minutes or an hour or so to make sure we break all this stuff down. So we got earnings coming out, and we got the financials for next week. You've got just missed an inside day here, but for FAS, you'll notice this. Let's take a slight higher high. Let's take a slight lower low. How do we get out of this? Well, we got a lot of inside days to start off. You're going to have Citicorp as an inside day. You've got Goldman Sachs as an inside day. You've got Morgan Stanley as an inside day. You've got Prudential, Met. You've got Bank of America, and all that stuff to keep an eye on. If we go to the IBB stuff, you got GILD closes an inside day, and you see that's still hanging near the highs of the week. And certainly the airlines here, United Airlines, American Airlines, and Delta all going inside day. So first things first, we want to look at which side of this inside week the SPY can take out. Where are we looking on that? And when it does, you're going to have full time frame continuity to the upside or the downside, most likely, depending on what type of a gap does it. Then we're going to break it down to the sectors. Is it confirmed in everything? And more often than not, we get some chop as earnings season comes in. Some go up, some go down, some do nothing as they wait for the earnings to come out. So first things first, let's watch those. Let's watch the daily break of the Qs. Let's watch the weekly break of your Amazons and your Googles and your Slobs and your Boeings. See if we get anything out of the gold, and then see how things develop as we trade near either this or that. All right, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm Rob Smith in the Black VTF here at T3 Live with today's market wrap-up.